Richard Russell is an innovation consultant who helps corporations innovate profitably by working backwards from the customer to the solution. Richard has a deep innovation knowledge acquired through his career working at some highly successful companies like Google and Amazon, and then applying real-world experience through his time as a startup founder and executive coach. Throughout his journey, Richard eventually adapted Amazon's working backward framework to help other businesses innovate more effectively. And he's here to talk to us about that today. So Richard, first, thanks for joining us in this video to share your innovation knowledge.
Welcome.
And so let me just start with, so far in this video course, in this section particularly, we've been talking about how important it is for a team to have effective innovation principles and practices. It's not enough to just say, let's be innovative. You got to know how to do it effectively. And I think you'd agree that most businesses understand the need to innovate. However, many businesses still have a hard time doing it well or effectively. Why do you think that is? Why do so many businesses or teams fail to innovate effectively?
I think that in many cases, it's because we get caught by the innovator's dilemma, and we're too busy executing to be able to disrupt our existing products. But what's really going on here is that we're busy in the middle of our execution. We're focused on this execution, on doing things, and we tend to be quite good at innovating incrementally around how to do that better. And that can be in a optimization sense and just sort of improving the process. It can even be in invention sense, but providing the same product to the customer. Where it gets really hard for most businesses is where you're providing a different product to the customer or something different to the customer. You're changing something about what you're giving to customers. And the reason that's hard is because we get complacent. We understand how the business works. We know how it works. We're very, very good at that. We're not complacent about delivering that, but we get complacent about understanding what needs customers are having unfulfilled. So we're in a situation where customers have these needs. They're wanting something more. They're wanting something interesting. They have something they're disappointed about, something they're going to a competitor, something they're improvising themselves. And we don't always pay much attention to that. And so if we pay attention to what customers really want, what their needs are, and then we can come up with better solutions for those needs, we then end up disrupting our products. We end up changing the way we're doing things, but we end up having to fight against that bureaucracy. And the larger the company, the bigger the bureaucracy.
Yeah, so two real issues there you're talking about. You're so focused on your day-to-day operations to kind of see what other opportunities are out there, and you become complacent and maybe make assumptions around what your customers need or want rather than actually keeping your focus there. So we're going to dive into the framework that you use, working backwards, to help businesses better accomplish this. But before we do, tell us a little bit about your background and how and why you came to adapt that Amazon working backwards framework.
For sure. So this actually all starts way back. I was working for Deutsche Bank about 15 years ago, and I left there and I came to work for Google. And my previous manager from Deutsche Bank came and asked me over a beer, what can Deutsche Bank learn from Google about innovation? And my answer was, it was the Google sort of script. It was what Google believes, or what a lot of people at Google believe, is hire smart people, give them free food and perks and lots of free, and get out of the way. And innovation happens. Give them 20% time and all that sort of stuff. And I remember he sort of said, really, that's it? and actually, that's what we believed at Google. Or a lot of us believe that anyway. And it turns out that that's not a great answer because it doesn't really work. It works a little bit. It works by chance, but you have to spend a lot of money. You have to throw a lot of ideas at the wall to make it work. So since then, I sort of was realized that this isn't really the solution. This works if you have 30% growth and 30% margins. You can afford to throw a lot of ideas at the wall and they still stick. But even so at Google, even when they have a good idea, it still takes such a huge investment to figure out if this is big enough to move the needle. And you can't take a massive risk with your customers, so you need to do something different. But Google doesn't have a great way of doing it. When I went to Amazon after this, I had a couple of startups between that. I went to Amazon. Amazon has a really structured approach to it, which I found really interesting. So I'd obviously gone through this startup process of discovering the lean startup and sort of build, measure, learn loops, and trying to understand minimum viable products and these kinds of things. And I thought that was useful. When you come to a company like Amazon, they don't really launch minimum viable products. They don't launch many betas. They don't test ideas directly with customers. That's not how they innovate, at least. They do that, but they don't. That's not how they come up with ideas. They don't just launch and see what happens. They have this process, and the process was working backwards. And basically, it ends up being that people come up with an idea. And if you have an idea at Amazon, and many people do because you're embedded in the customers, you're thinking about customers all the time, and you're doing what you're doing, and you have ideas. If you have an idea, someone doesn't say like, let's do a beta, let's do an MVP, let's do a demo, let's make a business case, let's write a pitch. They say write a working backwards document. And so that's